I am a huge fan of Stephen King's work. I'm not really a big reader per se, as much as I am a movie watcher, but when I do read, I love to read his novels and short stories. Salem's Lot is one of my favorite books of all time, and I really love the eerie atmosphere that he creates in his stories and characters. It's unparalleled by, I think, any other horror writer. Even if you don't really love most of his works, you cannot deny that the man is a talented writer at genuinely creeping you out with his, books. I'm especially a big fan of his short stories. I feel like that's where he really succeeds. And I have read the original Boogeyman short story from his novel of short stories Night Shift. I thought that was a very unsettling book. Short story, and I was really excited when this was announced because I remembered that feeling of dread that I had when I read that short story, and I was like, oh, this could actually really work on screen if you explore it. So let's start off with my theater going experience going to this film because it's a little interesting. So this film, usually when I have these early screenings, they are closer to me, but this is only showing early at a theater that was 40 minutes away from me. So yes, I drove 40 minutes to see this film. Whether or not that was a wise decision, you will find out at the end of this video. When I got to the theater, I had never been to this theater in my life before. It was very old. You could definitely tell it was a repurposed old theater. And I was walking down dimly lit hallways, and I was looking around both sides. I'm like, this is a little creepy. And I enter the theater itself. It was so dimly lit and antiqued and just old and kind of just dilapidated. I was like, yeah, this is an eerie atmosphere. I was kind of feeling that it was a little bit dark in there. I was like, this might actually be unsettling. And it kind of was. But let me tell you about my thoughts about the film. The honest truth about this film is this. Stretching a 15-page short story into a 90-minute film really doesn't work in this case. In fact, I found myself several times throughout comparing this to other recent horror flicks that had recently been released. As I was watching this film, in the beginning of the film, there is a scene between two characters where there is a therapist and a person seeking therapy in an office talking about an entity that is stalking them. And I had a very similar vibe to Smile, which was a film that released last year, of course, and took the horror community by storm. I was like, this is very similar. And then I got to the ending of the film and I was like, oh, this is kind of just Smile, but repurposed in PG-13. I don't know about this one. Let's also note that this film was produced by Sean Levy, who produced Stranger Things, of course. There is a lot of similarities between Stranger Things. It's basically took Smile and Stranger Things, mashed together into a mediocre PG-13 horror flick that you might expect Blumhouse to release, for example.
It's the thing that comes for your kids when you're not paying attention.
Let's get out of the way first and foremost. This script is just terrible. I'm sorry. It's written by the same guys who wrote both A Quiet Place and 65, which is that recent Adam Driver dinosaur sci-fi thriller film. Their writing here is just terrible. All the characters' lines are so forced and kind of cringe. It really comes across like it's some inexperienced screenwriter struggling to put his ideas on paper. The acting is not as solid as I would have expected from a horror flick like this either. There's a few different characters that I thought did well. I thought the little girl, I forget her name, but she's a phenomenal young actress in this. You will know who I'm talking about when you see the film. I think she was in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. She was phenomenal here. She gives the audience a sense of paranoia and tension, and it's conveyed so well in her acting. It's so authentic and real, and it really is a standout. I hope she gets more work after this because she is an extremely talented actress. The camera work is also mostly uninspired and unoriginal. There were no shots that I was mind blown by except two. One was in the first 5 minutes, which takes place in a child's bedroom at night, and is a 360-degree rotating shot that I thought was very well done in establishing tension. And also there's a shot that actually happens when a little girl is peeking under her bed where the camera actually flips, and it's very cool. It's a very cool moment in theater. My problem with this film stems with the fact that it's being marketed as a horror film, and it is genuinely not scary. It's just not. There was no moment where I was scared out of my mind like all the marketing has made it seem, where they record people in test screenings screaming and jumping. There was none of that. All the good scares, and this is the most annoying thing about modern horror films today, all the good scares were telegraphed in the trailer. They show every single good jump scare, moment of tension, anxiety-inducing moment in the trailer, and it's very annoying. I would like to see those scenes for the first time in theater, in the movie, where I can be fully immersed, but knowing what was going to happen at the onset of each of those scenes, because I'd seen it in a trailer leading up to this, was very poor on the marketing department's part, and it's a thing that I think most horror films nowadays are falling into, unfortunately, and I really hope they snap out of it. It also switches between kind of creepy to too sappy. There's a lot of family emotional drama moments that I felt were out of place in this film. It switches from like a tense scene where you like see a monster in the corner of the house and you're like, oh gosh, it's kind of unsettling, to a scene about a character going through a box for 5 minutes of her dead mother's belongings, which is sweet in of itself, but it's just moments like that intercut with like the tense moments that don't mesh together well and kind of come across as uneven. The last act overall, I think, is the saving grace of this film. I think it's the thing that I think is going to, either make people happy or make people angry. For me personally, I thought it was a very well done ending. I thought they couldn't have ended it any better than they did in any other circumstance. I thought it was fine. I thought it was standard. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was that special, to be honest, but it ended fine. It was a fine ending, so I'm not going to complain too hard about that when it ended decently. Overall, though, for all that I said was negative about this film, it is actually engaging. It's a very tight 90 minutes. I love when films like this are 90 minutes because it's just so tight and compact, and you can definitely tell it's like moving along at a brisk pace, but it never feels too long or too short. It's the perfect length. You don't feel the runtime. It just moves along, as I said, and it's very well done. I gotta say also, the VFX on the creature are amazing. I love how the film does not let you see the creature until kind of the very end. Even at the end, you don't really see what it looks like fully. You just get glimpses of it. And it's those glimpses that adds to this nightmare type feel of this film. You don't know what you're up against. You see its eyes peering out of the darkness, but you don't see the rest of the face to go along with it. I think that helps with establishing a sense of tension, and it makes it a lot more effective for the audience in delivering a lot of, cheap scares. Also, overall, there was one, I gotta shout it out, there's one scene where a lady's death, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it kind of pushed the limits at PG-13 a little bit, and I kind of respected that because it was kind of dope to see. Overall, it's a very standard PG-13 horror flick. I don't know, like if you see the trailer, that's kind of what you're getting. It's very formulaic, very similar to those other horror films, as I mentioned, like that Blumhouse might release. But at the end of the day, you're gonna do much worse seeing any other movie. It's fine. It's there. It exists. It's for the horror crowd, or if you just want to check it out and see what it's like, go for it. I would say there's definitely worse things you could do with your time. I would give The Boogeyman a 56 out of 100. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. If you are new here to this channel, please consider subscribing down below, liking the video, and turning on that push notification bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video to this channel. With that being said, this has been MD3. This is Mitchell signing off. Peace out.